Welcome to the SBR NHL Ice Guys. It's a scary Halloween edition of the show. This is Bobby Bones talking here. Ian Cameron, never mind that guy. I killed him and buried him in the backyard. He's gone. Bobby Bones is hosting this show now. You know what I'm all about? You're going to find out in a real hurry here. It's all about hockey picks and burials. You can say I operate a regular HP and B, hockey picks and burials. That's what it's all about here for Bobby Bones. We're going to get this show started. I've got these three guys. I don't know who they are. I thought I was doing this thing alone. I only operate on a one-man show. I run things here, and I'm going to get the job done. Wait a minute. Wait. What's going on here? Oh, no, no, no. Get the fuck out of here, Bobby Bones. Ian Cameron's back. Ice Guys is back as it should be. For Tuesday, October 31st, Bobby Bones is dead, folks. He's gone. He's not going to bother us anymore. And now the show can continue as initially planned. Looking forward to it here on a Halloween edition, a special one. So I apologize if the show started a little scary. I didn't mean for that to happen, although you could say and argue that I look a little scarier like this. But that's the way it is. But looking forward to the show. It is Halloween. It is Tuesday, October 31st. I don't always get to do a show like this on Halloween. I didn't do one last year, but looking forward to it. Hope everyone's ready to celebrate Halloween. For anyone that's not into Halloween, apologies for that. I know that some people, Halloween and all the talk about it drives you nuts here, and about costumes and Halloween parties and trick-or-treating and all that. Can drive you mad. I understand that. You can't get away from television news broadcasts without talking about Halloween and people showing their costumes off, but that's the way it is. It's Halloween. And you know what's scary, just as scary as that intro, is the fact there's only 3 games to talk about today on this NHL card. That's pretty scary. That's not like what we're used to seeing here on a Tuesday, but nevertheless, we're still here. We're breaking down all 3 games on tonight's card. We'll also look ahead to Wednesday's card. And Bobby Bones, I guarantee you, folks, he's never going to hurt this show again. Never. He's never taken over this show again. That was a one-time only thing. I don't know how the hell he got in here, but I'm going to make sure that I lock the doors, throw away the key, and Bobby Bones ain't getting back in here. This is that was his one and only appearance on the Ice Guys. Rest in peace, Bobby. Anyway, let's get going. Alex B. Smith, how are you today? It's Halloween. What's up?
Oh, well, happy Halloween to everybody out there. That was a pretty awesome intro. I think everybody on YouTube Live really got a kick out of that. But yeah, like I said, it's only 3 games, which is really weird. Kind of an off-balanced week. We had a lot of games last night. Heavier Wednesday card coming up tomorrow, but 3 decent games today. And I got into the Halloween spirit myself with my Bloody Hawks jersey. No, this is not me hungover. This is a hobby jersey of mine. So yeah, hope everybody has a good day and break down these 3 games.
All right, awesome, Alex. And Andrew McInnis, next up on the docket. Andrew, how are you today?
Good, thanks, Ian. Yeah, it's one of those days, only 3 games to talk about, but I guess it'll make it more in-depth and more exciting for us guys to just talk about these 3 games and maybe a couple games from tomorrow's card. So should be a good show. All
right. Bill Perry saying someone forgot to take his meds in the chat. That's pretty fun. Bobby forgot to take his meds in the chat. It's not me. Not me. Dana Lane, how are you today? It's Halloween. Of course, Dana's got kids. He's the only one of us that does. So he knows he's got to go through this trick or treat and getting the costumes ready routine every single year. At least I think he does. Dana, what's up?
Hey, I appreciate the Scooby-Doo moment this morning, and honestly, Ian, you would have gotten away with it had it not been for the meddling kids. But we finally found the real culprit of that. But yeah, I got 3 kids. We're going trick or treating tonight. I got a girl to actually talk to me, so I thought I'd make the most of it and have some kids. So here we go.
Hey, lightning strikes once every so often, right?
That's right. Well, she hasn't talked to me since, but I don't need you to talk. It's terrible. God,
that's awesome.
This is why you do the intros.
Let's hope she doesn't watch this show ever, eh, Dana?
No, she doesn't. She doesn't even know I like hockey. She's no idea what I do.
No, it's like that line is drawn right in the middle. Yeah, no, nobody's paying attention here. All right, awesome stuff. Does anyone have a favorite Halloween candy? Mine's always been Mars bar. It just is. It was as a kid, and it still is. Mars chocolate bar. It's been my favorite for my entire life, pretty much. Anyone got a favorite chocolate or candy? I got to ask.
I'm picky about candy. So I used to get, if I got Butterfinger, then like anything peanut butter, I would take all the peanut butter candy and trade it for the popcorn balls. Like I'm like the only person on earth I think that really enjoys those. So I used to get away with getting like a lot of like the odd, like get popcorn balls and maybe Twix, but everything else I just trade off and see if I can get the candy that nobody wanted, stuff that no one wants. So
Twix, they were all Twix. Yeah, one of my favorite moments.
You can always respect the house that's unique and has something like completely different, something that no one's ever really seen before. I know at my house, whenever we were giving out candy, it was always, you got to respect the person with the good costume. You know, some guys just walking around in their regular clothes and all they have on is one mask. You know, I'm just tossing this guy a bag of chips, but you got some real nice kid wearing like the craziest Spider-Man costume you've ever seen, and I'm just completely just decking this guy out, throwing him chocolate bars left and right. And I think it's the same thing it should be when you go out. You know, there was a guy on my street that actually like owned a cupcake business, like a cupcake making business or whatever. So everyone loved going to this guy's house, guys, because he only had about 200 every night. You got to make it in that time slot. Just get over there and he'll give you like one vanilla, one chocolate or whatever. And it's like the unique stuff like that you wouldn't really think of on Halloween, but that's kind of the stuff that I like.
Yeah, and then there's the people that don't believe in giving out candy at the front door, which always pissed me off at the when I was a kid trick-or-treating. What do you? There's people getting, you know, Skittles and Rockets and Mars bar and Snickers. You're going to give out fucking pencils and a coloring book? What are you going to do? You're going to draw a little picture when you get home while all your other kids are eating candy?
Education.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in a Twisted Sister video.
Yeah.
All right. Alex gets it. Never mind. I'm going to ask every kid when they come up to my door what they're going to do with their lives.
Yeah, exactly. You going to do something? You going to graduate?
Jeez. You got it, Alex. Hey, thanks. Sorry.
All right. We're turning now to hockey. Halloween talk for the show is over. We've got 3 games to talk about on the Tuesday slate. And I'm starting to wonder, are we only having 3 games here because of the fact it is Halloween? That's my initial thought when we saw a rare Monday with a ton of games and Tuesday with only 3 games here. But that's what we've got. We've got Vegas and the New York Rangers, Arizona, Detroit, Winnipeg, Minnesota. We'll roll through these 3 games. We'll give out just initial gut reactions to what we might be looking at betting side or total-wise on Wednesday, even though we got no lines available right now. I still have an idea where I might be going with some of those games on Wednesday. But we'll start with the Tuesday card. We'll start with Vegas and the New York Rangers, 51-52. No lines yet here, although 5 Dimes is hung minus 140 right now, and the New York Rangers is a home favorite, plus 120 on Vegas. No total as of yet for Vegas. It's just how much can it get worse with this goalie situation. You think it's bad losing 2 goalies. You've lost 3 now. Fleury out already. Subban out already. Oscar do the safety dance. One of these guys that came in there and really had played well, I thought, Oscar Dansk. You look at the way he started last night against the Islanders, played well. Vegas playing well again, leading that hockey game. Then the air completely comes out of the balloon once Oscar Dansk went down to injury, and that pretty much allowed the New York Islanders rather, a chance to take over that hockey game, and they sure did. And they certainly took advantage of a Maxime Legacy that certainly didn't look like he's ready for National Hockey League action based on his play. And the Islanders blow it open and end up winning 6-3 last night in Brooklyn. So back-to-back situation for Vegas on the road, tough spot. You know, and I said I was going to ride Vegas on this road trip as long as they kept winning, as long as the confidence kept rolling. And unfortunately, that train came to a halt after 1 game because I don't know if I can back them here. I don't want to lay with anything. I'll tell you that. I don't want to lay anything with the New York Rangers. I mean, this team is just struggling, continuing to play poor defensively, continuing to play, you know, less than inspiring at times offensively. The goaltending from Lundqvist or Pavlik is not even marginal at this point. It's poor, regardless of who's been in net. Pavlik was not good the other night against the Montreal Canadiens. So very, very tough game for me to wrap my head around it. Has Dana been able to wrap his head around it? Dana, what do you think here?
Yeah, it's unbelievable about the goaltending situation. I mean, Dylan Ferguson was on a plane last night kid who's 4-9 in the WHL this year, and he's going to back up Legacy tonight. The one thing about Legacy is that he's not a child. I mean, he's not an 18 or 19-year-old kid like some of the other kids in the system, like Yuri Patera. He's 24 years old, so he should have a little bit of maturity behind him going into tonight's game. Numbers certainly are not the best. He was 2-2 with Chicago this season, but it's really difficult at this point. I mean, I think George McPhee was taking shots the other day. It's hard. On one hand, general thinking or normal thinking would say it's very difficult to back Vegas because of their goaltending situation. We saw Legacy, last night look a little bit, less than average, and like you said, didn't look like it was an NHL goaltender. But at the same time, when you have 24 hours or so to process the fact that now that you're the man, maybe you get a lot different results. And I think that tonight you're going to see the Golden Knights really try to protect him. I thought last night they didn't protect Legacy as much. And of course that has to do with the fact that they were trying to come back in the game. So I think you're going to get a much better defensive effort from a team that plays solid defense tonight. You have to remember, going back to camp, what that was all about. And these guys have told you time and time again. Lucas Spiza the other day said it was the most competitive camp that I've ever been in. He talked about how everybody was battling every single day. There wasn't veterans that came in and took their job for granted. I mean, if anybody would have done that, maybe it was a James Neal, and James Neal wasn't available for camp all preseason. So that was the one guy probably sit back and feel comfortable, but mostly everybody else sat there and said, I have to fight for a position. So this team has been fighting since day one. This team has been overcoming various things since day one. The Knights have 16 players with at least one goal. So that means it's not just done by 5 to 7 guys. It is bullpen by committee here. And every single night it is a different guy stepping up to the plate for the Golden Knights. Now, this is their first real test on the road. I know they played in Dallas and Arizona earlier on, but this is their first real test on the road, especially in the situation where they're playing back-to-back nights against the Rangers and the Islanders. I think for them tonight, they keep it simple. They don't try to do too much, which is exactly what they've done all season long. They just kind of got caught, and they got caught a little bit against Detroit too. And if you wanted to kind of come up with one glaring weakness, it's they better be in control of a game, because coming back from 2-goal deficits, it's not really what they're built to do. So they must control the pace of play. They must be within, one, if not ahead. But I might take a shot. I'm going to take a shot. Not my best bet. But very rarely do you get a puck line at a plus with +1.5 where you can sit back and say, okay, that's an acceptable number to lay, because usually it's in the 2 somewhere. But I might take Vegas tonight +1.5 minus $1.50, but no more than that. But I do like Vegas to bounce back in this situation, because obviously the world thinks that the Rangers are going to win tonight. And if I can get $1.40 on that, I have not seen that, but I'm thinking this line will probably be closer to 180, 190, maybe 2. I'm thinking that's probably what the closing line is going to be. But if I can get 140, I'd be all over that. But certainly, I think the way I'm leaning tonight is the Knights +1.5 minus $1.50.
Yeah, I love that, actually. That's a great thought, because I'd rather lay that price with the Golden Knights +1.5 goals. Yep. Rather than lay something similar with the New York Rangers on the money line. Because I don't like anything right now about this New York Ranger hockey team. I mean, it was a bet against team, remember, on our preview show for me. I said the New York Rangers are going to decline a little bit, maybe not even make the playoffs. And right now, they're starting to live up to that, and they need to turn things around in a hurry. That was another bad loss for them against Montreal on the weekend. And I think this Vegas team, one thing we've seen from them, they're a tough team mentally. I don't think this is obviously that hit them like a ton of bricks. Third period against the Islanders last night that, Danska's gone now. We're down to our 4th goalie. Think they got a chance now to regroup, pick up the pieces tonight, hard effort, be responsible defensively, dig in, the world is not over for us. We're still 8-2. We've still had a fantastic start to this season. Let's pick things up and play. Yeah, I think there's a close, tight, probably lower scoring game tonight between the Knights and the Rangers. And yeah, Vegas plus 1.5. Yeah, no argument.
It has to be, and it has to be in order for Vegas to be in this game. I mean, they're not going to win games 6-5. They have to play a low-scoring, tight game. I mean, that's just a fact. Now, when Fleury comes back, I know a lot of people got on me on Twitter about the fact that Fleury wasn't going to make the trip. And there's one thing about this organization is that you always get mixed messages. What they say is not necessarily what happens. And Gerard Gallant. I think Gerard Gallant gets put into the fire a little bit, and I think I think it's time for George McPhee to find a microphone and to be honest with the media for once. But I guess he's happy just putting Gallant in front of everybody and having him address injury issues and the Shapashov injury or issue and all that, because I don't know if either Gerard Gallant doesn't really know or he's just kind of trying to throw you off, because he said that Fleury was not going to make the trip. Well, that was days after he said, well, he's going to be ready within days, not weeks. Okay, well, that's fine. You're going to be on the road for 11 days now. So I went ahead and just kind of did some quick math, which made other people upset. But you know how I care so much about that. And I just said, look, you're going to be on the road for 11 days, and you say it's going to be days, not weeks. So it's reasonable to think that he would come back within that 11-day period. Now, he's traveling with the team, which means he's well enough to actually get on a plane and go across country right now. He hasn't been cleared yet, but if you're using your head and aside what anybody tells you, it's reasonable to think that he would probably find some action on this road trip. Otherwise, why would you even bring him back east with you?
Yeah, that's true. That's really well said. Yeah, for me, from a side perspective, someone in the chat says Rangers win 4. They could. I mean, they definitely could. Would that kind of result shock me? No, but I think we're discounting the people, the men in that Vegas locker room, dressing room. I think they're going to show up tonight, protect legacy. They got to do that. I mean, block shots, have good sticks, active sticks, be in good position in their own zone. If they do all those little things, help out their young, inexperienced goaltender, I think they can make this a close game tonight and maybe have a shot to win it. Again, it's Vegas or pass for me. I don't want the Rangers. That much I know. Andrew or Alex, any thoughts here on this one?
Yeah, well, Ian, I will say that I really was hoping that you kind of segue in from your whole Halloween theme to how scary it is now for this Vegas Golden Knights team and their whole goaltending situation. I mean, it's a concerning thought. I mean, it's terrible for the game. Just from a fan perspective, you're just so happy to see how well Vegas was doing. They're off to a great start. And then, of course, 3 goalies going down. I mean, thinking about it, it feels like it's been forever since we've even seen Marc-Andre Fleury, let alone Malcolm Subban. Let's not even get started. Let's not even get Dana started either on the whole Calvin Pickard situation as well. But, I mean, they've just gone through a couple of goalies. We'll leave it at that. But heading into this matchup, guys, I actually have to kind of go on the other side of where you guys were leaning. I'm actually on the over in this game. I think that, with Vegas on the road and, I think you guys are right that if they're going to win, they're going to try and shoot for a lower scoring game. But in my opinion, until they get Fleury back, until they get a stable goalie, something that's not going to confuse them, they're going to look back every night. These players are seeing a different goalie in nets every time they're looking back. I think they have been involved in a lot of track meet type games so far. I think Vegas has kind of grown that reputation as that exciting team to watch. And let's just talk about New York for a second. I mean, they've been absolutely terrible from all aspects of the ice. Their goaltending hasn't been good whatsoever either. I mean, Lundqvist, known to be an all-star goalie. He hasn't really shown up this year quite yet. Pavlik, I'm not really sure what they were thinking with him. I've never really been too big of a fan of him, but seems like most games he's been involved in haven't been steady whatsoever. So looking at this game, look, guys, I think it's going to be a track meet style game. Not a whole lot of beauty goals, perfect tap in kind of styles. But with these two teams clashing right now with Vegas on the road, I think it jumps over the total.
All right, over 5.5, or I'm sure it'll be 5.5 the total in this game when it comes out for Andrew. Alex, what do you think about Vegas? How can they survive here?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I think the Shipatrov issue being settled, I think that's addition by subtraction. You don't have to hear about, every day of, he's going to show up in Chicago. Is he in Vegas? Where is he? All right, now he's back in Russia. That's done. So I think that'll be, one less. That's really kind of the only headache thing outside of the goaltending issue that it seemed like the franchise had. So now they can kind of, like I said, figure things out, see if Fleury's ready or not. But as far as this game goes, I'm thinking – more than likely, I could see for the first period, this might go over. We might see each team maybe get a goal, maybe the Rangers get out to a small lead. But I don't think we're going to see a lot of goals here, enough to where it goes 5.5 or 6. So I'm leaning with the under, because the Rangers are still a mess. Lundqvist is scheduled to start tonight. He's back and finished with, they said he's doing maintenance and stuff, kind of like Carey Price to at Montreal. They said he's not resting, that he's just doing some technical work. So I think, Lundqvist, we might see a better effort from him technically. To say how well that'll be, we don't know, but I think we're going to see low, maybe higher scoring first period, but lower scoring overall for the game.
I love that term, maintenance day for the goalies, maintenance work for the goalies. That's code word for you suck, you blow, you're not playing well enough. That's all there is to it. I mean, maintenance work. Give me a break.
Well, as far as Marc-Andre Fleury is concerned, maintenance means you got a concussion, because it was a maintenance day to start, and then the next day it was a concussion.
Yeah,
thought I'd throw that in.
Yeah, the Fleury thing is crazy. I mean, you just hear conflicting reports, it seems, constantly coming out from that situation. But I'll tell you what, the Vegas Golden Knights, it doesn't matter when. If it's later this week, next week, 2 weeks from now, they need Marc-Andre Fleury back as soon as possible, and we'll see when that ends up happening. We've got Arizona taking on Detroit, and man, this team took a few years off my life last night betting on them, Arizona. But nevertheless, they are finally in the win column. First win of the season for the Arizona Coyotes last night in overtime against the Philadelphia Flyers, 4-3 after 3-1 lead evaporate in the final minute. 2 empty net or pull the goalie, extra attacker goals for the Philadelphia Flyers in the final minute to tie the game before Arizona somehow regroups enough to get the overtime winner and take down the Flyers 4-3 for their first win of the season. Now they travel to Detroit, second night of back-to-back games here off that first win. Now, Arizona, I said when they got that first win, and thankfully I was on it. I wasn't initially sure I was going to be on Arizona last night against Philadelphia, but as soon as I saw that Louis Domingue was on waivers, and Louis Domingue was not even in the building to ruin another game for the Arizona Coyotes, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, I'm pulling the trigger here on Arizona tonight. Scott Wedgwood can't be any worse than Louis Domingue, and I thought he played pretty good actually last night. I don't think he could have been faulted for many or if any of the goals that Philly scored, especially in that final minute. There were some poor breakdowns in front of him, but he was better than Domingue, and certainly I think Antti Raanta is. So it's like I said, Wedgwood or Raanta doesn't matter to me. They're going to get at least better goaltending than anything that the stiff known as Louis Domingue can give you. And sure enough, Arizona rides that. They had the right mindset. They came out firing. They dominated most of the first 2 periods of that game before Philly finally started to tilt the ice a little bit in the third period when they were trailing. But good win for Arizona. I'm still steadfast in saying that despite this team's terrible start, 1-11, they're a better team than that record. They certainly can score goals. Clayton Keller's been fantastic for this team, leading them in points at 13 points. A great young center for this Arizona team. It's gotten off to a great start. They got weapons up front with Domi, Duclair, with Dvorak. I mean, there are guys that can put a puck in the net. Stepan, of course, that can put a puck in the net for Arizona. It's all about, can they get good enough defense and goaltending, and specifically the latter, the goaltending has been lacking for Arizona. It's a big reason why they've also been a huge over team. I mean, you look at them last 10 games, they've gone 8-1-1 to the over, Arizona, in their last 10 games. They've just been an over machine, one over after another, because they've been giving up goals, but they've also been scoring them. Now they take on Detroit, and I said once Arizona got that first win, I would be looking to ride this team a little bit, bet on them, and I still might tonight. I lean Arizona here, even on the second night of back-to-back. But again, the spot's not optimal. It is back-to-back on the road. But you're facing a beatable foe as far as I'm concerned. Detroit Red Wings here. a team that I think if you bring your best effort, you can beat this hockey team here. They're only 1-3 in their brand new building, Little Caesars Arena. They're 5-7 on the season. This is not a team that should overwhelm Arizona, even on the second night of back-to-backs here. It's going to be one of those situations where I think Arizona, after a huge win, I know blowing the lead's not good. You don't like to see that, especially in the final minute, but they reeled it back in. They had a good overtime session. They drew a penalty. Had a power play. They didn't score on it, but they didn't get down. They didn't, pout after that. They thought, oh, geez, we blew the lead. We had a power play in overtime. We didn't score on it. Oh, boy, now what? We're never going to win a game. They didn't think that. They kept coming at Philly and finally got that overtime winner to win 4-3. Positive confidence and momentum finally in that Arizona dressing room. I think it carries over into tonight. I don't love the spot. Normally, I don't love backing teams playing the second night of back-to-backs on the road, but still catching a nice plus price with a team feeling good. And really, is Detroit at -180 the kind of package you feel comfortable laying a price with? Hell no, not in my mind. Andrew, what are you looking at in this game?
I fully agree with you, and I think it starts with goaltending once again. Obviously, not the same situation we're seeing in Vegas, but I think it's confusing for a team when you see the same kind of different goalie every night and the same problems happening every night. They're able to put up 3, 4, 5 goals, but somehow their goals against is still always terrible. And I think that's where they're struggling the most is defensively. But looking at this Arizona team, like you said, Ian, a lot of the times you don't like to do this, especially with a team on the road. Don't get to sleep in their own beds. The routines are off a little bit, back-to-back games. But I think this is one of those instances where I do agree with you, Ian, psychologically, where you can just say, look, these guys have been playing a lot better than their record shows. And I think on this back-to-back right now, we're going to see the momentum carry over, and they're going to be fired up. They're going up against a Detroit Red Wings team that's, let's face it, nothing too exciting. This isn't any kind of game you get too excited about when you wake up in the morning. So I think this is going to be the kind of game that who wants it more. And I think this Arizona Coyotes team is going to be a lot more fired up. And if they can get some consistency going, and if they can find a way to get their defensemen to clear the puck out of the zone, not try and be so active like they have been trying to be. Let the forwards do their job. Let the defensemen do their job. I think that should be the rules for this Arizona team. But I agree with you, Ian. I think this is the momentum kind of thing. And I think that Arizona, not like I think they're going to get on a hot streak or anything, but I like the way they'll probably come into tonight feeling good. Probably a lower scoring game for me, but I like Arizona as well.
All right, Dana's back with us. Dana, what do you think about Coyotes and Red Wings? Can the Coyotes make it 2 in a row?
See, I thought I was going to slip out really quick without anybody noticing, but apologize for that. Kids, they go crazy when they can't find their costumes, and of course you have to listen to it. Anyway, okay, so Arizona, Detroit. Yeah, I agree with you, Andrew. It looks to me like a little bit of a lower scoring game, and not necessarily because of Arizona, more to do with what Detroit has done and continues to do all season. I mean, this is the first of or the second of 2 meetings this year, and the first meeting was 4-2. It was 4 goals going into the third period. So I tend to look at things in twos where I don't really try to anticipate more than 2 goals a period. So they were right on that under until at the end pushed it over last time out. And I think that this game will be a little bit tighter. Detroit, I don't know where their focus is. After this game, they do head out to a Canadian road swing. So to me, whoever you are as a team, I think gets exploited, especially if you're the team that goes on the road. And we know that Detroit is not very good offensively. So I think before a road trip, I think that even gets exacerbated a little bit more because their focus, if you're in the middle of a homestand, obviously your focus is on doing well, or playing well offensively or defensively, whatever your forte is. But when you're on the verge of going out onto the road, I don't always think a team has correct focus. So wherever your weakness is, I think it gets exploited right before a road trip, if any of that made sense. We definitely can't rely on either of these teams offensively. Detroit only has 5 first-period goals in 12 games. They rank 25th in that area, 24th on the power play. They're also 25th in offense. So, I mean, I don't understand why I would anticipate a better effort from Detroit, because after we've played 12 games, we know exactly who you are and what we can expect. So you can't trust the top players from Detroit. Dylan Larkin has yet to score. Nielsen has 4 goals, but no assists. And Zetterberg and Tatar have gone 4 games without a point. So you can't really count on anything from those guys. And, Arizona is a mess because they continuously try to run their organization on analytics. And these organizations that have a focus on analytics is usually a pass for me, because hockey, I think, is the one sport where analytics is the tool, and teams that think it's the tool, a la Arizona and Florida, usually struggle. So never a play on for me, and very, very few times does Arizona ever play. Very few times does Florida ever play for me. But I do like the under in this. You're getting plus money in some spots. So that's kind of where my lean would be on this tonight.
All right. Dana likes the under in Detroit. What's Alex like?
I'm looking at Arizona in this spot. I think the fact that they won last night and they don't have time to rest on the fact that they finally got off of, this losing slide. They're right back on the ice again. And you look at Detroit, they just coming off of a win after losing the previous 6 games. So both teams look fairly evenly matched in a bad way, and you're getting this high of a price with Arizona. So I think they're going to be able to at least ride the momentum out tonight to maybe squeak out another win. Now afterward, if they, and I would like to see them win. If they go 2 in a row, maybe we'll adjust the price a small value against them. I think at least momentum-wise, Arizona would be the way that I would look in this game.
Yeah, definitely. Total agreement there. We've got Winnipeg, Minnesota, the third and final game on the Tuesday slate, 55-56. We've got Minnesota minus 140, minus 145, total 5.5, shaded to the over. Really, it's as simple as this with the Winnipeg Jets. You give me Connor Hellebuyck in net tonight, I'll probably make a case for Winnipeg. If I don't have Connor Hellebuyck in net, no. I don't make a case for Winnipeg. I mean, it really has been that sharp with this Jets team in terms of the difference in their play and the results with Hellebuyck and Mason in net. I mean, Hellebuyck has clearly been a guy that they've found more confidence in. I don't know what it is. With Hellebuyck, they also have played better defensively in front of Hellebuyck than they have it with Mason at any point this season, and that's been a big part of it too. Now, has Mason not been good? Of course not. But it seems that Winnipeg's played with more structure and just played better for the most part in front of Connor Hellebuyck than they have in front of Steve Mason this year. So that's a big factor when it comes to betting these Jets games for me. I want to know, I have to know, not only I want to know, I have to know who's in net before I get involved from a betting perspective right now with the Winnipeg Jets, who after a tough start, they're 5-3-2. They've actually got more wins than Minnesota. Minnesota is a team that we've had some struggles. They have played better lately, though. After a tough start to the season, Minnesota 5-3 in their last 8 games, so they have played a little bit better. They're coming off a huge win against Pittsburgh, absolutely drubbing the Pittsburgh. 2-1. That was Winnipeg drubbed. They both played Pittsburgh. Yeah, Winnipeg drubbed them 7-1. Minnesota beat Pittsburgh, but only 2-1. That's the kind of game you'd expect Minnesota to win. Tough. Grind it out, and they did that. So both of these teams coming off wins against Pittsburgh. Only one of these teams, though, can win this game tonight. For me, I'll make a case at the underdog price for the Jets, so long as we see a Connor Hellebuyck sighting in net. And again, Minnesota is one of those teams that laying a price with them is a little bit tricky for me. Although, again, they're playing better hockey, both of these teams, off beating Pittsburgh. Dana, what are you looking at with the Jets and Wild? Any opinion at all on this game here?
Yeah, another goaltender has been confirmed this morning, but certainly like you, it's a major part of what side I'm going on. I do expect Devin Dubnyk to be in goals. So, I mean, that's something that I can almost bank on. But, I mean, you said it. I mean, look, the Winnipeg Jets just came off a 7-1 victory against Pittsburgh. They're probably feeling pretty good about themselves. But if I'm the Minnesota Wild, I'm feeling pretty good about myself too. And, yeah, they only beat them 2-1. But a win is a win. And on top of that, it was the first time this season that they had won back-to-back games. So I think winning back-to-back zeroes out a team that beat Pittsburgh by 6 goals. And, you know, I mean, look, if I'm Winnipeg, obviously I feel good about it, but Pittsburgh, let's be honest, has showed some cracks. So I expect the public to overreact to that victory. Of course, with Winnipeg being such an underdog, I mean, obviously that makes it more attractive as well. This is a revenge spot, whatever that means, as Winnipeg did beat Minnesota 4-3 on the 20th. So take that for what it is. But, you know, I know that Paul Maurice is pretty giddy with their recent defensive play. I know he's talked about it in various interviews about how happy he is with the way that the Jets are coming around defensively. But, you know, the honest assessment of where they are right now is they're still one of the worst defensive teams in the league. You're betting on a team that features a Jacob Trouba, a guy that, you know, desperately last year wanted out of Winnipeg, didn't want to play on one side, then he wanted out. He's matched up with Josh Morrissey. So, you know, these are two guys with 20 combined games that are on -6, and they only have 2 goals between them. And that's your best pairing. That's your first pairing. And you have probably Dustin Byfuglien's probably their best defenseman. Tobias Enstrom is, matched up with him, and I don't think much of him either. So I don't know how you could go into this matchup thinking that Winnipeg is A, good defensively, and B, good in net. So how can you really bet a team like that when you know that they're going to have to match up against Zucker? I'm not sure if Zucker's back after having a baby, but I assume that he is, and he didn't have the baby himself. His wife did, his wife Carly. But congratulations to him. He should be inspired now. He has another mouth to feed. So Zucker and Koivu and Granlund, to me, equal a better option than betting on the Winnipeg Jets defensively. The home team in this series won 5 out of the last 7, whatever that means. But Minnesota is going to be the side for me here. And because I don't trust Winnipeg on a game-by-game basis defensively, and I never really know what I'm going to get out of Minnesota. But we do see some 5.5s in this game now, which is a lot more attractive to me than the 6s that I saw last night. So I do like Minnesota in this, and I do like the over in this at over 5.5 -$1.10.
All right, over 5.5, saying the Winnipeg Jets. Yeah, on paper, good defensive numbers, but still giving up a lot of shots. I mean, you look at them, they've given up on the last 3 games, Pittsburgh twice and Columbus, they've given up 2 goals or less, but they've given up 36, 37, 32 shots. They've certainly given up looks at the net, but Hellebuck's been great, 5-1, 2.05 goals against average, and yet I still hear Paul Maurice yesterday say there's a chance that Mason might get a look again. And I'm thinking, what are you thinking? I mean, they're 0-4 with Mason in net. And, they've got good vibes going with Hellebuck, and I don't think you shake up the apple cart here. You don't. You stick with what's working, and that's been Connor Hellebuck. So that's why, in terms of me, I'm looking opposite Dana only if we get Connor Hellebuck confirmation in net. I don't want Mason. That's for sure. And it's nothing against Mason. When he's on his game, he can be good, but he's not been on his game, and the team hasn't played quite as well in front of him as they have with Hellebuck. So, again, that's something I'm going to be looking at, the goalie situation. Sometimes there's some games it doesn't really impact my handicap as much or my thought process or my leans. In this game, it absolutely does. Andrew, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, well, I'm just going to look back. I think it's kind of unique that these two teams, they played the exact same team in their last game, the Pittsburgh Penguins, like you guys mentioned. And, Dana, like you said, a win is a win. I mean, 2 points are 2 points, whether you win 2-1 or you win 7-1. But, I mean, I think the elephant in the room is we can't all lie about the difference in momentum and the difference in the way your team is feeling after the game. Like you said, you're feeling good as a back-to-back winner team. With Minnesota, I think offensively they've shown some signs of life this year. But ultimately, what that game showed me, even against a backup goalie with Matt Murray not starting in the net for the Penguins, it just showed me the star power, the firepower this Winnipeg Jets team does have. And like you said, I believe that they are overreacting. I think everyone's going to pound Winnipeg as underdogs a little bit, just overreacting to how much they've scored. But I do like Winnipeg I do like Minnesota. They've gotten better defensively, and they can shut down teams. But I think if you just look at this matchup, guys, Winnipeg is just too powerful of a team. Of course, I am waiting to see if Hellebuck is in nets. Like we've been saying, I'm not really a fan of Mason, but just looking at this matchup, guys, I'm on Winnipeg and the over. I think a first period play on the over would be a great start for this game. I think both these teams are well rested. Minnesota hasn't had a game since Saturday night. Winnipeg didn't play since Sunday. And I think both these teams have what are capable of putting up big numbers. And, even the Minnesota Wild, they're known to be that low-scoring game kind of style team. But they won 2-1 against Pittsburgh. I think they come out and put a couple of goals in the back of the net tonight. So my stronger lean is on the over, but I also lean Winnipeg.
All right, so stronger on the over and a lean to Winnipeg for Andrew. And make sure you get the best number. If you're looking over with Dana and Andrew, they're on the over. Make sure you get the 5.5. There's some -15s, -120s out there on 5.5. A couple shops showing 6. So make sure you get 5.5. SBRodds.com. Use it. It's live odds. It's free. This isn't Sports Options. This isn't Sports Insights or any other service where you got to pay money and shell out money to get it. To get live odds and the up to the minute odds. No, SBRodds.com gives it to you. It's all there for free so that you can get the best number and the best price at all instances. And I'm telling you what, if you're the Minnesota Wild coming into this game and you're seeing that your 2 players tied for the team lead in points are Jared Spurgeon and Chris Stewart, you got to start to reevaluate what you're doing offensively and see what you can do to change things up, because that's, to be honest, not good at all. That's kind of embarrassing, really, that Chris Stewart and Jared Spurgeon are tied 8 points leading the team. We need some of these other guys to get going here for this Minnesota team. Where's Charlie Coyle? I mean, 2 points, really? 2 points for Charlie Coyle so far this season? Not good at all. You've got Ennis. Foligno's been okay, but you need some of these other guys to step up. We know they miss Parise. Obviously, it's a huge injury, but it's got to be offense by committee. And, you can't just rely on Jared Spurgeon to be one of your offensive juggernauts, or Chris Stewart for that matter. Alex, what are you looking at with your nearby local Minnesota Wild tonight?
Well, I'm on board with everybody else tonight, really. I'm looking at the over. You look at these 2 teams and how, they did big division rivals, and they really get the best out of each other. And that's why I think we've seen the over has gone over 6 of the last 7 matchups and 7 of the last 10 when these 2 hook up. So both teams, when they play other clubs, they know how to tighten things up defensively and really lock things down. But I think when they play each other, like I said, it's usually an important game, being so close proximity and usually close in the standings division wise at times. So I think we're going to see some goals here from both teams. Both teams know how to score some dirty goals, especially Winnipeg. They're a team that can really bang and get physical. Like you said, you got guys like Chris Stewart who are the ones really scoring for the Wild right now. So even if it's the same crew as of now that's been scoring lately, we'll still see some decent offense. But if we can see some of those other guys, like say Coyle and company, wake up, I have no problem here backing the over. And as Andrew said as well, the first period over, I think we could see at least maybe 2 or 3 goals early in this game. The Wild doing well in this homestand. They've won back-to-back. So against some. So I think we're going to see some goals here. I like the over first period, and I like the over full game tonight.
All right, first period over and full game over for Alex on Minnesota Winnipeg, which wraps up our look at the Tuesday card. Before we get to best bets, a quick look ahead to Wednesday, November 1st. I can't believe November's here, but it is tomorrow, brand new month. We've got 5 games on tap: Philly, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Edmonton, New Jersey, Vancouver, Toronto, Anaheim, Nashville, San Jose. Those are the games taking place on Wednesday. I'm just going to throw out one early lean gut reaction, and this is almost assuredly going to be a play for me. This is not one of those where I'm going to wait, sit back, and let's see what the line is on Wednesday. I know I'm probably going to get a reasonable enough number here. I'll be looking at back the New Jersey Devils Wednesday night against the Vancouver Canucks, starting a road trip, 4-0 on the road this year. Good spot. I think Vancouver's going to come back down to earth. particularly offensively. We saw it last night. They lose 2-1 in overtime to Dallas. Great start. Canucks, hardworking team, a lot of grinders, good effort on a nightly basis. They put on their hard hat, giving you a good 60 minutes most nights for Travis Green in his first year as head coach. But they're running into a red-hot, dynamic offensively so far this season. New Jersey team, they'll level off at some point a little bit offensively, New Jersey, but there's a lot to like with what I've seen from this team. One of the surprise stories, good spot starting a road trip, 8-2 on the season, perfect on the road. I think they go into Rogers Arena tomorrow night and take down the Canucks. I'll be on the Devils Wednesday night. Anyone have a thought on the Wednesday card early on? Let's start with Dana.
Well, I mean, first thing, I'm looking at that game too. It's strange that is probably going to be the marquee matchup tomorrow. If you would have told me that Devils Canucks November 1st was your marquee matchup, I would have said that was probably nuts. But that's certainly the game that you're interested when the number comes out. And I'm not really, I mean, in all honesty, without seeing a number or goaltenders or anything like that, it's difficult to have a lean on this. I think New Jersey's a little bit better offensively, but I think at least until we can't, which we've done the last couple of years, we'll ride Vancouver out as much as we can until they kind of fall back, which they're expected to do. Whether they do or don't, that remains to be seen. But I think New Jersey is a little bit better offensively, but I also think from a Vancouver standpoint, I always look at these as kind of opportunity games, especially if you're the home team. And I know I put a lot of psychology into handicapping, but let's kind of dive into the room a little bit and say, well, if I'm the Vancouver Canucks and I'm looking at New Jersey coming in, I know that if we want to get to where we want to be, these are some of the teams that we have to beat, and now we have an opportunity to do that at home. And if they're able to do that, I make a note. If they're unable to do that, I make a note as well. But I think Vancouver looks at this as an opportunity game. I expect the line to be in the 25 range, maybe 20. Maybe I'm way off on that, but that's kind of where I would be. Maybe 15, because it's there's that East Coast bias a little bit. A lot of people are more kind of more familiar with them, and of course that you make these lines based on trying to get equal action. So I think that you'll get more money coming in, maybe not offshore, but certainly here in town, more money coming in on New Jersey than you will Vancouver. So they won't make it too high because they don't want all that plus money liability. So probably be in the 15 to 20 range, but I would be looking at the Vancouver side right now. That doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be my play tomorrow.
There we go. So depending on the price, Dana might look at Vancouver. And I know regardless of the price, I'll be looking at New Jersey. So there we go. Andrew, what are you looking at for Wednesday?
Well, guys, I'm looking at the Pittsburgh Penguins versus the Edmonton Oilers game. Like we mentioned a couple moments ago, the Winnipeg Jets taking care of the Pittsburgh Penguins earlier on this weekend, 7-1. Of course, like I mentioned, Matt Murray was not the starting goalie for the Penguins, but looking at this matchup right away, I just have to say that I think Pittsburgh Penguins are that bounce-back team. If there's a team in the league that's going to know how to bounce back from being handled 7-1 like that, I think there's way too much leadership in the room. I think there are way too many all-stars on that team for us not to see any kind of bounce back. I just think from what we saw to Winnipeg and the effort that really Pittsburgh gave, it's pretty much one of those statements where Pittsburgh's going to be fired up. I think the effort that we've seen overall from this whole supporting cast from Pittsburgh has been huge. Usually it takes a while for them to kind of get into that. It's just your typical Malkin, Crosby, Kessel kind of thing. But everyone's really showing up to play, and that's what I love about this Pittsburgh Penguins team. And that's why I think they've had so much success with the back-to-back Stanley Cups. Moving towards the Edmonton Oilers, looking at those guys, I think that they have kind of taken a step in the right direction. They've gotten some more goals from Nugent Hopkins, Patrick Maroon. Of course, McDavid's actually kind of becoming more of a facilitator and actually moving the puck a little bit more. I think he's trying to get his teammates more involved than he was before, whereas he was kind of just trying to score for himself. So looking into this game, I think Edmonton's going to probably get a little more respect than they were as it's going forward. But I think that Pittsburgh coming into Edmonton is going to take care of business and bounce back in a really, really good way here, guys.
All right, there's Edmonton-Pittsburgh thoughts from Andrew. Alex, anything on Wednesday that you're at least interested in right now, even without a number?
Yeah, I'll be looking at the game involving my hometown team tomorrow. The Chicago Blackhawks hosting the Philadelphia Flyers. That'll be the NBCSN premier game on Wednesday. Looking at the Hawks, they've lost 3 in a row now. I'm hoping that maybe we'll possibly be able to find a rare home dog number with the Hawks, because they are struggling. You look at this Philly team coming in. They've got some issues on defense. They're going to have, be short 3 defensemen possibly for this matchup. So what I'd be looking at here is the over. These two teams, tend to score pretty high on each other. I remember last year's matchup in Chicago was a 7-4 final for Philly. So, and this has always been a home-dominated series. The Hawks have notoriously struggled in the regular season in Philadelphia, but they've been able to get the best of the Flyers at home. So the Hawks and the over are 2 things I'll be looking at, possibly playing one or the other tomorrow night.
All right, Hawks and the over leans in that NBCSN Wednesday night rivalry game, Flyers and Blackhawks. Stanley Cup Finals rematch from many, many years ago, 2010, the first cup that the Chicago Blackhawks won during this decade of dominance, so to speak. All right, best bets to wrap up the show, everybody's favorite time of the show. Dana, what do you got?
Well, I do expect Steve Mason to be in goal for Winnipeg, and if that is the case, then certainly I can't back a netminder that brings in a goals against average of almost 5. His save percentage is under 90%, which is I've never you have these guys once in a while that ride their whole career based upon one good year, and you certainly had that 3 years ago in Philly. But other than that, I mean, his whole career has been numbers that were below average, and certainly this season he's falling into form with that. So I like Minnesota tonight. I don't have any problem laying the chalk with them. I think they're the better of the 2 teams. I think after that victory, I think you're going to see a Winnipeg team who's belly is fat, which I like to say quite a bit when teams I think are satisfied, and I don't think Minnesota is the satisfied team of the 2. So I like Minnesota at home against the goaltender, who is clearly the worst of the 2.
All right, it's a Minnesota best bet for Dana. Andrew, yours.
Look, I agree. Steve Mason being in net will probably be a factor for my play. I'm looking at this the over in the first period, guys, at 1.5. I think that in order for Minnesota to keep up with this Winnipeg team, they're going to have to put some goals up tonight. I think Winnipeg, obviously not going to put up 7 goals every night, but they showed us the star power they have with Line A, Ehlers, Wheeler. This team, the all-stars that they have, they come out to play really every night, guys. It's always one of them that steps up and plays a big role. So, look, I don't really see Minnesota as this team that comes out every night trying to score 4 or 5 goals. But I do think that tonight's going to be a kind of a track meet style game, and I'm looking forward to an exciting first period.
Yeah, I think it actually will be. I mean, Minnesota doesn't mind going back and forth and trading chances, and Winnipeg certainly sometimes pulls you into that style of game. Alex, your best bet for this card here?
Well, I'm going to the same game, but I'm going full game over with the Jets and Wild tonight. I think we're going to see, like I said, a very open ice shot fest between both of these teams. And, like I said, the Wild playing well at home now, finally getting the back-to-back wins. This is an important homestand for them. They got 2 more games coming up, later in the week. Montreal struggling coming in, and of course they wrap it up with their rivals with the Hawks. So I think they're going to try and keep the momentum going and try and do some more on offense, while, like I said, the Jets in the net and the way their defense is playing, that they're going to let up some goals as well. So over, like I said, shop around, use SBR odds to find the best price. But right now I'm finding a 5.5 at over minus $1.15. I'm going with the Jets and Wild over the total.
All right, Jets Wild over, and I'm the only one with a best bet on a game other than Minnesota and Winnipeg. Everybody's loving that game. Hey, it's 3 games. It's slim pickings tonight. We don't have much to choose from, not much meat on the bone, so to speak, but I'm going to go back to the team that treated me well last night. It's not the greatest spot, back-to-back on the road, but going with Arizona. We can get the Coyotes at a pretty good underdog price here, plus 155. That's rotation number 53. At least you're playing a team that you can handle on this back-to-back on the road here. And Detroit you can handle. They're struggling to score goals. There's no denying that. They were just 1-6 in their last 7 games overall. Not much better than what we've seen out of Winnipeg. What's Winnipeg, their last 7? 1-6. I mean, after last night's win. So Arizona, this is a team they can handle. Maybe a little fatigue sets in, but I don't think it'll be enough. I think Arizona's live here in this spot. finally with some confidence after win 1, let's take Arizona plus 155. That'll be my best bet. Best bets are 21-15 on the season, so still profitable. Been a good start with them. We'll look to continue that tonight on this short and slim Tuesday night NHL card. That'll wrap it up for the NHL Ice Guys for this Halloween Tuesday, October 31st edition. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Sportsbookreview.com. Make sure you check that website out. Free picks, articles, live odds, sportsbook rating guide. It makes you a better sports bettor. Going to sportsbookreview.com. Check out the links below this video to all of SBR's social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Google+, Instagram, all of that below this video, and give us a thumbs up if you like the show. Andrew and I are back at noon Eastern time for the CFL 3-down breakdown as we try to find something to bet for this ugly-ass final week of the CFL regular season. We'll see if we can find something out there for you. The Ice Guys will be back on Thursday for Dana, Andrew, and Alex. I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review. Happy Halloween. Good luck on the ice tonight. We'll see you again on Thursday.